Okay, Darren here. I just got home. I operate a mobile detailing business, so I operate out of my home. This is my part of my home office. This is my home garage. If you've seen any of my other videos, you have seen this before. So I wanted to take a moment because I just got home and it's fresh in my mind. I'm not even taking notes. Once again, it's detailing unscripted, my world unscripted. In the sake of transparency, I'm waiting for my wife to get home, which she just now got home. Yeah. Okay, because I've got to teach you guys a couple things. Those of you that are looking to get into the business, communication is king. You can never assume anything. The few will always ruin it for the many. Okay, so there's a few lessons here today that I want to bring back from the field and teach you guys in the moment. Part of it is because the few have ruined it for the many. That is why I deal in cash only. I tell my customers, I put it on my website, I tell them on the phone, I only take cash from any first-time customer only. You know why? Because the few have ruined it for the many. I do not want to get home and find that a check has bounced. I don't even deal in credit cards. Now, would it be convenient for the person? Yes, but I know that the ripple effect is that the credit card company is king. So they can have what's called recourse. So they come in, and if there's a dispute, they will take the money out of your account because their customer is king, and you as the vendor will be at the mercy of whatever the customer says. So if Johnny customer decides that they're unhappy with your work, guess what? You have to eat it. Well, you know what? Cash doesn't bounce. Cash doesn't have to be deposited. So cash is king in my world. And therefore, I learn, and what's so ironic is that those starting out in the business, you will be fearful and you think, oh, I would never be able to tell that to a customer. Well, guess what? Yeah, you can. And most people understand when you just tell them, it's like, hey, guess what? I've been burned. I don't want to be burned again. They can check and verify my work the second I'm done. So there's no problem on their end, and they understand it immediately. You can walk through here, honey. Just anyhow. So that's the first lesson. But in response to the few will always ruin it for the many, it also has to do with communication. So what happened today is I communicated or tried to with a lady on the phone. She called up, wanted to set an appointment. So there's a theme in my world, which is that Darren likes to drone on. Darren likes to give him more information than is needed. Well, guess why? Part of the reason is because I have been burned, and today I got burned. Okay, ultimately I did not get burned because I walked away with $200 in my pocket, which is what we agreed upon. But the customer had unrealistic expectations. So despite my efforts to manage expectations, and that is a big problem, is the inability of people, business owners, to manage the expectations of their customers. So when you engage in a relationship for the first time, a business relationship, there needs to come a meeting of the minds or a meeting of the expectations. The only way you can do that is by thoroughly asking questions. The big colossal irony is that I attempted to assess this woman's expectations, assess the context of the moment. What I mean by that is that I get calls. Okay, I have a website. And as I've written to various viewers out there, is that when you are advertising, and I don't pay to do any advertising, I do my own what's called organic search engine results. I'm fishing with the net. So I pull in a lot of people, but my website is there to filter out what I call the bottom feeders. I don't want the guy or the people that are price shopping. That's not my world. I want people that shop value. Now with that, because we as society are being groomed and trained to what I call the drive-through mentality. We just want what we want, and we want it right now, damn it. Give it to me now. I'm going to go through drive-through. I'm going to get my food. I want it quick. It's fast food. So that's how we were being groomed. So a lot of people will just go and they'll do a search. Auto detailing Orange County, and I will populate. They'll just grab my phone number, and on the fly, they'll just call and say, hey, how much to do this and this? I don't like those kind of people because they haven't put any due diligence in. They just want what they want. And unfortunately, in many ways, life is on its head. And what I mean by that is that when things should not be oversimplified, or that they're not oversimplified, we as people want to oversimplify them. Things that can be much more simplistic, we want to overcomplicate. So we actually do the polar opposite of what we should be doing. And that's part of my big goal with this YouTube channel and my websites, is to simplify an area of detailing that is overly complicated by the industry and other people on the car forums and so forth. You know, they want to confuse a lot of people with terminology that is glorified and ambiguous, hyperbole, and it confuses people, and you walk away and you think, I don't know what to do. Sounded cool, but I still don't know what to do. Okay, that's where I want to oversimplify it, because it can be much more simplistic. A guy wrote in and said he went to a seminar, and he walked away with all they wanted to do is just cram product after product down his throat, where it's like you have 10 products that they say you need to use, and it's like, well, guess what? I can do it in 2 products. Okay, that's oversimplifying a over complex situation. But my original point is that a lot of people want to oversimplify something that can't be oversimplified. That's where I come in, and I need to ask questions. I need to dig in and find out so I can assess what the situation is, and therefore what their expectations are, and therefore deliver those expectations. If I don't know what their expectations are, how can I over-deliver? Because I constantly am trying to over-deliver so that I can build long-term relationships, have repeat customers. But what is so ironic is that so many people want to cut to the chase, and they actually get frustrated with me on the phone. You may be getting frustrated because it's like, wow, okay, Darren, what's your point? Well, the point is you can never assume anything. The few have ruined it for the many. So I'm on the phone with this lady, and she just wants to cut to the chase. Okay, and I can tell she's getting annoyed. And that's what's so funny, is she's actually getting annoyed on the phone with me, and I'm asking her questions so that I can give her what she wants, which is satisfaction in the form of detailing services. So the big irony is that in order for me to do that, I have to ask questions. But on the other end, she's getting annoyed because I'm asking too many questions. So we arrange the appointment. I call and confirm the night before, which was last night. Everything's a go. All she said on the phone was, I just want the interior done. And I said, okay, because I have experience. So I tell her, I say, okay, so you don't want me to touch the outside? She says, no, I just want the inside done. My mother has died. The car has there's been a lot of coffee spill in it. We just want the inside done so we can get it sold. Okay, so she's already told me right there that she only wants the inside done, and I even confirm it with her on the phone. But I sense that she's getting annoyed, and she actually kind of laughs because it's like, wow, dude, you're asking so many questions. So I get the hint, and I hang up on the phone with her, and I confirm my appointment the night before, and I add, as a parting gesture, it's like, hey, tell you what, because I quoted her $150 on the phone, and she goes, well, I don't want to pay $150. And I say, well, you can pay whatever you want. I can always stick to a budget, but when I get there, if I find that it's overly dirty, I'm going to have to tell you that, hey, guess what? This cannot be accomplished with $100, at least not by myself. Now, someone out there may do it for less, but you've got to find that person. You found me. You want to do business with me. This is what I'm going to charge. I have 25 years of experience, so I know how to cut to the chase. So I'm not going to spend 5 hours detailing the inside of a car because I can do it in 3 hours. And you'll see the video because I used it to actually demonstrate a few things. So anyhow, I get there, I show up this morning, I look at the car, and it is a disaster. It is one of the worst cars I've ever seen. So she is already misrepresented to me because she said she gave no suggestion that it was a disaster. All she said is that there was a spill of coffee. Okay, so that's all she said. When I get there, it's like almost that's the least of her worries, is that it was spilled. Okay, in her defense, I'll add that she did say her mother was a smoker. Okay, so I know that smokers, they are less particular about their cars, so it's going to be a lot of work. So that's also another indicator. So I get there and it is just gross, it's filthy, it's like I need a full body condom to do the job. Fortunately, I've got rubber gloves, and if you watch the video, you will see. So I sit there and have a conversation with her initially, as I do with all my customers, and that's why communication is so important. You have to dig in. People will bully you. They'll bully you into oversimplifying it, and they don't realize it because they don't live your world. They just know what they want. Unfortunately, most people have or really lack the ability to communicate and tell you what they want, because we have been trained as society, once again, to oversimplify things that should not be oversimplified. So we're having a discussion and I'm saying, oh my gosh, this is a disaster. I said, I could spend all day on this thing, but I already know she wants to just sell it. So it's like, how do I put as much curb appeal into it, clean it up the best I can, so she's not spending a fortune and she can just get it sold and get what she wants. Well, I know realistically that it is so bad that, for example, if this carpeting were in your house and you just bought the house, there's no way you're going to call a carpet cleaner. You're going to be like, hell no, this is gross, this is disgusting, we just got to replace the carpet. Well, that's pretty unrealistic in a car for many reasons. So right there is the kind of foundational moment. It's like, okay, you're asking me as a detailer to clean something that really should just be replaced. Okay, I get it. You don't want to spend that kind of money, do it, and I would recommend that, but I can improve it dramatically so you can at least get it sold, because any person in their right mind, unless you are willing to just drop your pants to the floor and sell it for $2,000 instead of the $7,000 that she wants to sell it for. Okay, unless you're willing to do that, which most people don't want to, it's like, okay, let's do what we can. Let's hire a professional, let's pay $200, it'll be worth it. So I'm going to try to improve something the best I can on something that should really just be replaced. Okay, so that's the foundational problem. Okay, so I tell her, I said, yeah, okay, this is because we talked about $100 versus $150, and I told her, I said, you know what? I will stick to your budget. If you want to just spend $100, yes, but know this, I will have to pick and choose, because I could spend all day, I could spend 3 days on this because it's so bad. Not only should it just be replaced, but that's unrealistic, and I always help people come to the most appropriate decision based on all the information. So that's unrealistic. So it's like, okay, for $100, I'll stick to your budget, but I got to pick and choose. It will not include everything. She says, oh, okay, so, and I say, so really, I mean, this really is a $200 job easily. She goes, well, okay, that's fine. Let's go ahead and do the $200. I said, okay, great. But with that said, I'm going to improve it. You know, once again, just to communicate with her so that she understands what's going on, is that I am not a magic worker. I don't work miracles. I don't have a magic wand in my back pocket that I can wave over her carpeting that literally has like a gallon of coffee spilled into it and think that it's all going to come out. Okay, so once again, I dig in, I ask questions, and that's what's so frustrating. At the end, Well, I'll back up a little bit. Towards the end, she came out and goes, "Oh wow, this is looking great." You know why? Because it was looking great. I got out stuff that no other detailer, unless they've had my kind of experience, and I'm not bragging, I'm just stating. There's no way they'd get it out because they don't have the right techniques, and they're not going to spend the whole day for $200. Okay, so at the very end, I announce that I'm done. And she comes out and goes, "Well, what do you mean you're done? Aren't you going to wash the outside?" I said, "Well, no, because you told me on the phone last night that you really just wanted the inside. And I even confirmed with you, and I said, so you just want me to do the inside only?" Her answer was yes. Okay, but now suddenly she's saying, "Well, I expect that when someone comes out to detail a car that they're naturally going to wash it." Okay, well, that's where she's assuming. And now it's her bad, not my bad. My side of the street is clean. But now she wants to say, "Oh, I assumed." It's like, well, don't assume, lady. We covered this last night. So her response was, "Yeah, well, I was driving an RV and I was distracted and I didn't want to crash." Okay, so now I've got to bear the responsibility of your inability to communicate thoroughly exactly what you want, and now you're going to assume that I'm going to detail or wash the outside of your car. It's like, wow, lady. So if you are inexperienced, and as was I the first, I mean, honestly, if I had to deal with this lady the first probably 15 years of my career, she would have badgered me and bullied me into doing more than what was worth. I already over-delivered to her. I already spent more time than I should have because I like to over-deliver. I like to leave people with a positive experience from the auto fetish moment or the Darren Priest moment. So it's it's frustrating to me because it's like, oh my gosh, talk about discouraging. And I even told her, I said, "Wow, lady, this is ironic for a couple reasons. One big glaring irony is the fact that last night on the phone, you were actually getting annoyed because I was asking so many questions. You know why I asked so many questions? So moments like this don't happen, so that your unrealistic expectations can be managed, and that I either decide to take the job on based on realistic expectations, or I decide to say no thank you, move on, go find someone else. No big deal." So it was just so frustrating and ironic. So I throw that in her face in a diplomatic way, and she says, "Oh yeah, the RV moment, I was distracted, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Okay, well then that's why when I showed up, you and I sat here and looked at it, and I told you exactly what I was going to do." And then she tries to throw it in my face and say, "Well, you should have told me that all you were going to do is shampoo the carpeting and the upholstery for $200. And I said, "Well, guess what? That's not what I did. I did so much more than that. Look at the headliner. Look at the sun visors. Look at the center console. Look at the door panels. I detailed all of that. So don't sit there and tell me that's all I did, because that's not all I did." Then she goes into, "Well, you know, I used to detail cars, and you could have at least," and she's looking down in between the seats, and there's still, I mean, it was so gross and thick. Down in between the seats, I say, "Lady, okay, this is where you know, I don't want to escalate this into a fighting match. Obviously, we have a gap in communication. I did my best to manage your expectations, and that's why I asked so many questions. And yet you got annoyed at me for asking so many questions. This is the reason why. Now you're going to start nitpicking my work. And the reality is A, this car should, like, the inside should just be replaced. It's so gross. But B, I'm going to try to save it so you can sell it." I clearly saved it. I raised it from like a 2% where it was just that gross to like 80%, where most people would say, "Okay, yeah, it's a used car, I get it. I'll buy it." So now she has these unrealistic expectations, and she wants to nitpick my work because now she's trying to defend why she doesn't feel that it was worth the $200. And it's like, and then she starts throwing in, "Oh, I just paid $250 to have my RV detailed." It's like, well, okay, if you were so happy with that guy, why didn't you call him back? And now you've just made an apples and oranges comparison because I'm not that guy. And I can promise you that even though you say you detailed before and you call another detailer in, they would not have gotten this upholstery that clean. I can promise you that. So there's so many colossal things wrong with this moment and so much irony in this moment. So the point is, in 500,000 words or less, and I'm curious how many of you have tuned into this, probably only those that truly are focused and dedicated to learning the business, and I'm trying to teach you firsthand. I mean, I've been in the business 25 years and I'm still dealing with this kind of BS, because this is BS. But it's just part of the deal, and I've learned in life that it's like the polar opposite. We want to overcomplicate things that can be much more simplistic. We want to oversimplify things that are much more complex than what a casual observation would suggest. So we do things opposite of what we should, and therefore we get bad results, like today. So my side of the street was clean. I even offered to wash the outside, but then she went into like, okay, you know what, Darren? After she went and called her husband, I have no idea what that conversation was about. So she comes back out and says, okay, Darren, that's fine. Here's your $200. If you're okay walking away and not washing the outside, that's fine. And I told her, I said, you know what, lady? I am okay. You know why? Because I already over-delivered on the inside. Because you can't communicate to me and you actually got annoyed with me, what can I do with that? And I even threw it back on her. I said, okay, in the future, if you were me, what would you do? Of course, she has no real logical answer or intelligent answer for that, because she knows she's at fault. And therefore, she couldn't come up with anything. She just backpedaled and came up with more excuses to rationalize and justify her incorrect, bad position. So, as frustrated as I am, and I think you can tell, and I want you to know, because it's so easy to misrepresent on the internet, I could show you Ferraris all day long, and Porsches, and BMWs, and Mercedes, because I work on plenty of those. But guess what? I also work on crap. But I get paid well to work on crap. And that's the second lesson, which I should probably make another video.